through some of the cases, you'll be surprised. For example, in the case of Sanjay, who's 27-year-old, a newlywed guy, died after attending a party. He experienced chest pain, blood pressure above 220, collapsed at the primary health center. If I take the case of Harshita, 22, mother of 2, died due to sudden heart attack. Muthaya, 58, English professor at the Holland Saipura College, collapsed during a tea break on campus, declared dead on arrival. Ravi Kumar, 30, healthy man with no prior illness, collapsed and died at Vice Maternal Home. After Hassan district recorded 18 cardiac-related deaths over the past 40 days, State Health Minister Dinesh Gundu Rao ordered an investigation into the situation. The state government has directed a panel of medical experts to investigate possible clinical reason for the sudden surge in deaths.
I've already told my department officials to collect all the data and check exactly what is the truth behind the whole thing, and then submit a report. So they will be looking into that and they'll be verifying. Then once the report comes, then we'll be able to tell exactly what is the situation there. I already told our people to get all the data, analyze it, and see what are the exact causes, and then we will definitely come out with very shortly we'll come out with the findings.
In a post on X, Chief Minister Siddaramaiah said that the same panel was in fact tasked with studying rising sudden death among young people and assess if COVID-19 or the vaccines administered during the pandemic might have played a role. However, on the other hand, scientific studies by ICMR and AIIMS have dismissed any direct link between COVID vaccines and sudden adult deaths. According to the Union Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, various national agencies investigated the matter and concluded that the COVID-19 vaccines used in India are safe and effective. Investigations identified lifestyle and pre-existing health condition as key contributing factors behind such incidents, ruling out vaccine-related causes. Now on this, I am joined by Dr. Asad Sridhar, Chief Consultant Interventional Cardiologist, Mangala Hospital, Hassan District, Karnataka, Satyaprakash, Spokesperson, KPCC, and Dr. Lakshmi Ashwin Gowda, Spokesperson, BJP. But let me straight away go to Dr. Sridhar. Before we get to the politics of COVID, politics of vaccine, Dr. Sridhar, are these cases from Hassan and adjoining district unique? Dr. Sridhar, can you unmute yourself?
Yes, I have unmuted myself. Can you hear me?
Yes. So why are these deaths taking place in these two districts, sir?
So now what we have data, or at least I have been working here for the last 5 years. So every year we have been seeing an increment in the heart attacks, and the patients present with heart attack are definitely much more younger than what it used to be before. However, having said that, we have this unaccounted deaths. We can call it actually as an unaccounted death because we don't know for certain whether these are cardiac related or these are not cardiac related. There have been a spurt in the unaccounted deaths for the last 2 months, and most of these patients, most of these people who have been reported, mind you, they have never reached the hospital. They have died at home, they have died in different places, and they have never reached the hospital. And we don't have any single postmortem reports to kind of conclude the reasons for these deaths. So whether it is related to cardiac, whether it is not related to cardiac, as of now, we don't have any data. And as far as the center where I work is considered, we have seen a little bit of increment in the presentations of patients with heart attack, and the amount of the complications with which they present has also been increasing. But however, there is no dramatic difference in the numbers and the presentation variety, which we have not noticed, at least in our center. And these unaccounted or the deaths which has not been kind of evaluated, most of it has happened in the pre-hospital kind of a setup. So these are not hospital-related deaths, and none of this has been, at least as far as my knowledge is concerned, there is no evidence of any post-mortem being done in these kind of patients. So it's very, very imperative that we have to consider this very, very seriously, and we should start evaluating why this has happened, what is the mechanism behind their deaths, what is the cause behind their deaths, and we need to look into the pattern, if there is any pattern that is fitting in these kind of scenarios.
But apart from Hassan, adjoining district has also witnessed deaths?
We have a lot of patients presenting with a heart attack in much more younger age group that has been happening for quite some time. It is not just in the last 40 days, but it's a kind of a shift and a transient, it's a kind of a shift that we have seen in the long run. I think a lot of things has been debated about it, that we are seeing a lot of younger patients who has been presenting with heart attacks. And at least in the center where I work, I have seen a 17-year-old boy who was sitting in a classroom having a heart attack. So we do have come across a lot of heart attacks in younger age groups. In the last 2 months, at least more than 10-15 patients have come in the second and third decade of their life with heart attacks, and their presentation has been quite a challenging and quite chaotic. So yes, we do have an increased incidence of heart attack in younger age groups, but that has not, it's not in the very it has been a consistent shift that is happening for quite some time now.
You stay with me because you're the doctor here, but there is also politics here. The Chief Minister is saying one thing, the ICM are saying another thing. Mr. Prakash, why are we politicizing medical intervention? I'm saying, is there any need to talk about it? Today ICMR had to issue a clarification, sir.
No politics on basic problems that humankind faces. I mean, science is very important for humankind, and the modern humankind has to believe the science fraternity and the health fraternity. This might be aberrations. I quite completely agree with the doctor from Hassan who says that there are no proofs, and now with Mr. Ravindranath, the head of Jainava being appointed, the panel will look into it if at all there are some problems. But if we have to look at the other side, I have a feeling that the British Heart Society also has the mRNA type of vaccines. There is some problem with two things, the inflammation of the heart and inflammation of the lining of the heart. But those vaccines are of mRNA. And I have my own doubts whether mRNA vaccines were used in India. Barring Covishield, they say, has something nearer to that mRNA, but I'm not sure. But we should believe the science fraternity. We should have enough faith on our medical fraternity. The people of Hassan and Karnataka should not have any phobia as such. But I have a strong feeling that few of them, of those 20 or 22 who have died, might have missed the golden hour, which is very important in case of heart attack. That might be the reason. I think we need not have any doubts on the medical fraternity. Every medicine, be it vaccine or anything, both doctors here will agree with me. Every indication will have some contraindications. And I am sure if any contraindications, the medical fraternity, the IC, all the organizations which have stringent procedures in place would have looked into it. But it is too early. Let us see what the committee headed by Ravindranath says. And if at all there is something which comes out of the committee, it will be an eye-opener for entire India, and we have to look at it from
Dr. Lakshmi Gowda,
Dr.
Lakshmi Gowda, I have two questions for you, madam. The first question is your opening comments on the tweet by Chief Minister Siddaramaiah linking COVID-19 and the rising heart attacks. And secondly, do you think that medicine is being politicized?
It is so much preposterous and premature to link the diseases that have happened in Assam district with the corona vaccine. Corona vaccine was invented at the juncture when the whole world has been grappled with the corona pandemic. Given the population density of India, the legendary and visionary leadership, decisive leadership of Mr. Narendra Modi ji has given major fillip for the manufacturing, distribution and injection of the vaccines to the Indians, not necessarily the Indians, but also to the 96 countries throughout the world. And thereby we have achieved the vaccine diplomacy. I don't think there is any links and there is any alleged links between the cardiac attacks and with the corona vaccines in other countries, the 96 countries, those who have received Indian manufactured vaccines, corona vaccines. It's so unfortunate that a person who is occupying a constitutional position like Mr. Siddaramaiah is making such a preposterous comments that it might get linked with the corona vaccine is highly condemnable. He must understand one fact that it needs extraordinary conviction to invent or to manufacture, as there is interventional cardiologist in our panels, I think he would agree with me, to manufacture, distribute and administer vaccines to the entire country given the population density. We have done that at that juncture, and he is trying to link that also with the corona vaccine that's been manufactured by the leadership under the leadership of Mr. Modi ji. It is highly condemnable. It is highly
Mr.
preposterous. The
Modi has not
veracity in the
manufactured those
statements,
vaccines.
any statements linking
Don't bring
the
politics
veracity
into
in any
this.
statements
Ashwini,
linking
Dr. Ashwini.
corona deaths, corona vaccine with the cardiac deaths is highly preposterous because cardiac deaths, cardiac diseases are mainly because of the lifestyle, because of the stress induction, because of the diabetes, pre-existing diabetes, because of our dietary habits, excess intake of fat. I think in Hassan district there might be an extra, there is lots of intake of red meat there in that section, not necessarily in Hassan. Wherever they consume excess of red meat, that is highly, that can be linked with the, that is called atherosclerosis, might have caused the cardiac deaths. Their pre-existing diabetes and stress induction and our food culture, junk food, food adulteration, there are multitude of factors that are responsible for the cardiac diseases. It is highly preposterous and highly farcical to link these deaths with the corona vaccine. We highly condemn this statement of
Lakshmi,
Mr. Siddaramaiah.
Dr. Lakshmi Gowda,
He must revisit.
Dr. Lakshmi Gowda, when was the last time a study was initiated on the issue of cardiac arrests in a specific area like Hassan or Chitradurga, because the cases from Chitradurga have also come. So when, generally when you do mapping, you do a sort of state-wise mapping, a sort of a demography-wise mapping, there is a profiling which is done. When was the last time such a specific mapping was ordered?
To be honest, I'm not so aware of that fact, sir. One thing I'd like to tell you is cardiac disease is a chronic disorder sometimes. Pre-existing cardiac attacks might be there. It is a chronic disorder. Being a chronic disorder, any attempt to link that with a vaccine administration doesn't make any sense. The veracity in the statement is too far away from the truth. They must understand this. They should undertake an investigation and they should revisit their facts. They should rectify their facts first.
Okay, Satya, quickly to you. Then I'll go to Dr. Sridhar. Yes, Satya.
Yeah. There is a known saying in medical fraternity. Most of the people say prevention is better than cure. Now, Dr. Ashwini has come to one conclusion already. Nothing is there's no problem at all. As if she and BJP have done huge studies on cardiac arrest and the action of COVID vaccines on this. So let us not come to any conclusions. Wait, there are experts. Let them go there, find out, because ultimately it's question of people's lives. 22 people have died.
Is it justifiable?
Blind. And Mr. Modi has not produced these vaccines. It's companies, scientists who have produced these vaccines. So don't bring politics here. When I was given the first chance, I never brought politics. I said, let us be above politics. Let us not play petty politics in everything. What Mr. Siddaramaiah is saying is, we need to study. We should not come to one conclusion. We need to study if COVID vaccine has any role. And we should study, because every life is very, very important. Your life, my life, just imagine tomorrow it can happen to me. Tomorrow it can happen to you. So we cannot, blindly say everything is okay. Whatever vaccines, everything is perfect. While we have enough faith on the medical fraternity and our scientific community, but we have to probe. The experts should go into it. Any drug contraindication should be probed. And British Heart Society has said, mRNA, there are myocarditis and that lining, inflammation of the lining is there. And especially people who have taken 2 doses, it is on a higher side. British Cardiac Society has said. But it is for mRNA. I am not sure if mRNA was used, but when I was just going through, there is a link between Covishield and mRNA. Now we have to see all those 22, 23 people, have they taken Covaxin or they have taken Covishield? You cannot blindly, for your blind faith on Modi and BJP, you cannot say everything
okay,
is
Satya,
okay.
point taken. Okay, Satya, point taken. Okay, Satya, point taken. Dr. Sridhar, you said a very important thing, that you noticed that the younger people are having a heart attack. Do you think it is because of the lifestyle? Do you think it's because of the stress? Do you think it's because of other comorbidities? But what's the big picture you are gathering? Because you are actually a practicing doctor.
Correct. So basically what we do is we consider sudden cardiac deaths into 2 fragments based on the age. One is when it is less than 25-year-old and when it's more than 25-year-old. In those cases where it's less than 25-year-old, if it's a sudden cardiac death, then it's mostly due to secondary genetic causes such as hypertrophic cardiomyopathies, QT syndromes, which we evaluate the QT intervals in the ECGs, or if there's any pre-existing genetic conditions where an exertion or any, these people, these kids, they will move on, they will play just like any other kids, but in turn they will be carrying this genetic phenotypes, and when they exert, these can manifest as arrhythmias with the ventricular tachycardia or ventricular fibrillation, and they can have sudden cardiac deaths. When it happens about 25 years, obviously we look at heart attacks as the most common source of
Are South Asians,
etiology.
Dr. Sridhar, very quickly, are South Asians more susceptible to heart diseases?
Definitely. We are at least a decade or two earlier, we are susceptible for heart attacks when compared to the same Caucasian population with the similar risk factors. So to start with itself, as genetically we are more susceptible for heart attacks. The heart attacks happen at least a decade or earlier in our population when compared to Caucasians. And more importantly, in an age group where in the second and third decade, habits do really play a significant important role. There is something called modifiable risk factors and there is something called non-modifiable risk factors. Modifiable risk factors are the ones which makes a difference why we can modify them. Genetics is something which is non-modifiable. We can't do anything about it.
You hit the nail on its
modifiable risk factors, yes, the modifiable risk factors, whether it is smoking cessation, whether it is alcohol intake reduction, whether it is developing a very healthy lifestyle and diet.
Actually, you hit the nail on its head. You know, I think the genetic part is something which people are not aware of, that the South Asians are more prone to having heart attacks, and we should all be careful when it comes to our lifestyle, when it comes to what we eat and how we live. Thank you all of you for joining me on the show, but I personally believe that the politics on COVID vaccine should come to an end. So this was on point 2. In the third on point, we'll look at how Iran has refused to cooperate with IAEA, but after a short break.
पार्टी हॉर्न्स भी होने चाहिए मंगा